Here's how I passed both of my technical interviews at both Intuit and Amazon, and how I would prepare for LeetCode style interviews in 2024. Now, not every company is going to have these style of interview questions, but a lot of the bigger companies do, like Amazon, Microsoft, Facebook, Google, that type of thing. They have these LeetCode style interviews, and it can be difficult to know where to start when preparing for these type of interview questions. So I think it's really good to have a guide of how you want to prepare for these interviews. That way you can follow this guide through the process and really hone your interview skills and improve your LeetCode and technical interview skills throughout the process. All right, so getting started, you want to have a structure to this. You don't want to just be doing random LeetCode style questions, jumping to different websites, looking up a ton of different videos. You really want to have a structure to this. So for this, I would really recommend a curated list of questions that you can go through. You could start with easy questions, kind of move to medium, and then go to hard questions. Really, I think the bread and butter for LeetCode questions and really gaining a lot of knowledge is that medium question range. But to get there, you definitely need to start with some easy questions and then move there. So one of these is Blind 75, which is a curated list. And that list is supposed to be 75 questions that can get you relatively up to speed on some of the more common topics and give you a baseline knowledge of these topics. Now, I have personally gone through Blind 75 and done pretty much every question. It's a great list to go through. Another one of my favorites for a more in-depth list is the LeetCode 150 list. This list is made by a YouTuber, LeetCode, who used to work at Google, and he has great videos on LeetCode solutions and explanations as well for each of the problems in this list, which is super helpful. I personally would recommend LeetCode 150 over Blind 75 though, as I feel like it goes more in depth, but really you can start with whatever one. I feel like they're both great starting points, and then you can always do more as you go or complete both lists. One thing I would recommend as you go through these lists is don't jump around topics a lot. Really start in a section and stick to that section. LeetCode has a little graph where you can go down the graph and kind of traverse the different topics. I would really recommend completely finishing a topic though before moving on to another one. Another suggestion I have is repetition. I know some people who just solve LeetCode, they just blast through one of these lists, don't ever repeat questions, and then when they get a question from one of these lists, they have no idea how to solve it because they haven't repeated it. The knowledge really never stuck the first time. I think you can get a false sense that you really fully understand the problem just because you saw the solution, you saw the explanation, you kind of understood it and you wrote it down, you copied it or something like that. And it's definitely not bad to watch an explanation or stuff, but definitely make sure you fully understand the problem. And it's always good to come back and repeat some problems, especially the more difficult ones, to ensure that you fully understand the problem and you're just not memorizing the solution directly, but actually understanding it. Now, another question you might have is what happens when you get stuck on a problem and you just have no idea how to do it? The first thing I would say is don't spend too long on it. Really spend I think 10 to 15 minutes is good enough. And if you're completely stuck on it and have no idea what to do, go ahead and look at a solution. I would recommend YouTube videos such as LeetCode, or there's a whole bunch of other YouTubers that do videos on LeetCode. You can find one for your language of choice. Either way, I think it is a waste to just keep beating your head against the wall on a problem that you just have no idea how to solve for an hour to 2 hours. I think it's just a complete waste of time. And at that point, you should look up the answer, really try to understand the problem, solve it, and then you can always come back to it later and ensure you actually understand the problem fully. Or additionally, you can find other problems that are in the same topic similar to that problem and try those out to see if you understand the problem or not. Now, eventually, as you go through this list, I would recommend writing down what problems you're struggling with, what problems you found easy, and what topics you're struggling with and topics you found easy. That way later on, when you're looking to revisit problems or topics, you know where your weak points are and can really focus on those and focus on improving those topics and improving your knowledge in that area. Now, finally, this is another question which always comes up. What is the best language to do LeetCode in? Now, personally, I really like Python for LeetCode. I think it's the easiest for LeetCode. It has a lot of built-in data structures and tools you can utilize to make LeetCode questions really simple. And also the syntax is really concise, so your answers aren't going to be super long either, and it's pretty easy to write out. That being said, I feel like you could choose almost any language. If you're good at Java, you can use Java. If you're good at C++, you can use C++. If you're a front-end dev or you know a lot of JavaScript, maybe you want to use JavaScript. Just know that there are pros and cons to each language, and some languages might not have the built-in data structures that other languages have. So keep that in mind, and you can always ask below or Google a specific language if you're wondering if that's good or not. But personally for me, if you don't have a strong preference, I do recommend Python because I just just feel like it's the easiest overall. One final note, there are also places you can practice technical interviews with, like Pramp or other interviewing services. Some of these are free where you just sign up and a peer will interview you, and in return, you'll give them an interview. And these can be really helpful for helping with your explanation skills as you're actually solving a technical LeetCode problem, because that's going to be a big part of these interviews too, is not only solving them, but explaining the problem and your thought process to the interviewer, which you want to do throughout the interview process. All right, so those are just some quick tips I have that have helped me throughout interviewing at Intuit and Amazon. I feel like there's no one secret to getting great at technical interviews. It does take a lot of time and effort. But yeah, hope you guys enjoyed the video, and let me know what other videos like this you'd like to see in the future, maybe on system design or something similar like that. So I'll catch you guys later. Have a good one. Peace.